Okay, so we're picking up from looking at the unsafe classroom or lab from part two of the lesson. In comparison to this picture we have here, a safe lab environment where there is no spill on the floor, there are no spills, there's no broken glass. The lab technician has on her PPEs, that is her gloves, her goggles, her lab coat, her hair is also tied back with lab practice. The desk, it is not as cluttered compared to this unsafe classroom setting. So when we are looking at safe lab practices or safe labs or classroom, we should be seeing something like this. So this is a really good example. All right, so we are moving on to discussing safety in the home. And as we look at the picture here, we'll have an idea of what we're actually going to talk about. Children playing with matches, a child also playing with the stove and having toys all around, and all of these scenarios in the picture you see here can cause accidents in the home, loss of property, and so forth. So before we talk about the rules, we have a guess the safety rule question or questions here, and we are actually guessing the home safety rule for this one as we're talking about the home safety this time. So for example, George, a grade 10 male, was preparing dinner as his mother had a late shift at work. She had asked him to cut up chicken, season it, and cook it until she got home. While attending the chicken or while cutting the chicken, the knife slipped from the meat and went into his flesh. As a medical practitioner, John called for advice with the accident. Now we have two questions to consider. One, how would you guide George through the ordeal? Two, what home safety rule was ignored? Now for the purpose of this video, you can actually pause it, think about the question, make your notes, but we're gonna actually go ahead to answer the question right now. So the first thing I want to point out is that parents, they are not supposed to be leaving the child or such a young child at home by themselves or tell them to be going in the kitchen cooking. So that's a no-no right there. And also safety rule that was ignored. Child was handling sharp object, the knife, and was in the kitchen, as I said. So we have answered that question right away. But in regards to guiding George, the medical practitioner that was at the scene, we have to say that if this injury was a minor one where it just grazed the top of the flesh, well, you can just barely run it under warm water or tap water. Um, Add some ointments and bandage it to prevent infection. However, if it's a more dangerous situation where it goes deeper into the flesh, as this might indicate, then immediate medical attention would be necessary. So maybe John would have to take George to the hospital to take care of this. Right? So I hope you were able to answer the question along this line because it's really straightforward. And based on the topics that we did before, this is just um, giving us a scenario where we can think about it and apply what we learned before. So that's the purpose of this question. Now, we are going to go into the actual rules These rules, as I said before about the other rules, they're not exhaustive, so you can add more to it. And I'm sure most of us have been practicing these rules already. So we have 10 of them right here. First one, mop up spill liquid off the floor or any other surface. So we spoke about that when we spoke about safety in the actual lab environment, so it's similar. Similarly as well, chemical solutions or matches should be out of your reach as students or even your younger siblings. So young children should never have access to these, and the parents should be careful in that when you're putting away the chemicals or solutions, just ensure that they're not watching you, because as young scientists, they're really observant and curious. We should always ensure that the surrounding area is clutter free, so meaning no toys around the place. And I know parents have to be behind the children, ensuring that they pick up. Just continue to do that until they get the point of why you're telling them not to have the place cluttered. Another point we have here, all electrical outlets should be child proof. So if you're able to buy the covers for the electrical outlet, sure, do that. Or if you want to place furniture in front of the outlet so that it's not visible, where they will get curious and maybe stick a knife or fork in the socket and cause electrocution. Just do whatever you need to ensure their safety and yours as well. Also, miniature toys should be kept in a safe place to prevent choking. So this ties in with surrounding air must be clutter free. As we move on to the next point, all opening of the home must be secured. So entrances to the kitchen, back door, front door, sure that the yard is gated. It doesn't matter what type of gate. We just should ensure that we have good enough gating or fencing that no one can come in to harm the children, or the children can't go out and get harmed either. Another point as well, point 7, animal interaction should be safe. So if you have cats with sharp claws, try to declaw them, and also train your dogs, because we know a lot of persons have dogs. Just train them, because even though they are pets, they are naturally predators, so they can turn to that state at any time. So we have to be careful when the children they are around them. Also, children should not play with plastic bags. We know that already. We don't have a lot of plastic bags around, but even the normal bags, just keep them away from them to prevent accidents like suffocation. Point 9 now, care should be taken with boiling saucepans and kettle, etc. So many of us will forget that when we're cooking, to ensure that the handles are turned out, are turned in to the stove instead of outside, because even ourselves, when we are in front of the stove, might pass by and bounce on it and it spill and it burns us. So imagine the children. I know that they're not supposed to be in the kitchen, but they will still tend to venture there. So we have to ensure that we secure the environment as per that rule. And lastly, but not least, keep first aid kits easily accessible. So you don't have first aid kit alone, and essential filter belts that you can use. Of course, children ensure that there's what type of medication or treatment apply, because that can cause harm if we give them medicine that we are not sure how they will react to it. So we have to also be mindful of that. All right, so this is just a quick assignment where the students can work on designing posters. Usually such an assignment will involve working in a group of 10 maybe. But what the students can do, they can actually work with their younger brothers or older brothers or siblings, cousins. Um, they can print symbols from the internet, magazines, etc. And I know many parents actually work in a professional environment where you can teach them how is it to put together the presentation to make it neat and eligible. So this is a possible assignment that they would have got based on this lesson, and they can, based on the presentation or the lessons, they can try this one as well. All right, so and then safety doesn't happen by accident, which means that it's not haphazard. We have to put effort into it because we want to ensure that our lab environment, our home environment, and even our work environment is safe and there's no accident or injury. All right, so that's basically the end of the lesson, lab safety, and we also discuss safety symbols and safety in the home. So thank you so much for making it, Miss Abe's Science Corner. Looking forward to see you in my next video, which we will be talking about first aid in regards to grade 7 lesson. All right, so like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for your time and for making it spoken by Abby. Have a great night.